Hello, welcome to some Bundesliga Matchday 30. We keep analyzing the German league with the fight for the Champions League, the title almost done for Bayern Munich, as we know, and the relegation with Ronan Murphy. Hello, Ronan, and we have big news actually this time with Union Berlin, I have to say.
Yeah, we've got the first permanent or semi-permanent female manager in the top 5 leagues. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes on. I know the Union Berlin Twitter admin has been going wild, calling out fans for sexism this week. So that's been very entertaining. The replies that they've been giving about the new boss. But it'll be interesting to see how she does. She's obviously experienced at lower levels, and she's set to take over the women's team for next season. So we'll see how she does between now and the end of the season. Maybe she could be in line for the permanent job.
Well, we've seen female referees. I think one was called actually for the World Cup this summer, one female referee, and now we have the first ever manager in the top 5 leagues with Union Berlin. We will tell you how it goes. And of course, let's try to make money this weekend in the Bundesliga. Let me know in the comments your predictions for this week. And now let's go on with the show. And as always, we start on Friday in Hamburg. This time is St. Pauli, Cologne for the relegation battle. 5 points between these two teams, but there is no reaction from St. Pauli. It was harsh, the defeat they got against Bayern Munich, 5-0, but we cannot judge them for this game, but it's only 2 points in the last 5 games, 3 defeats and 2 draws, whereas Cologne got a key win against Werder Bremen, and they are collecting points here and there, draws with Frankfurt, Gladbach, Hamburg lately. So Cologne, even if the odds are very level, are arriving better to this game.
Yeah, they are. St. Pauli, obviously, like you said, you can't really take a result against Bayern Munich as evidence of anything in the Bundesliga. You just write that one off and focus on the other matches when we do any analysis. And probably when the teams themselves do their analysis, they probably just write the matches off against Bayern Munich, especially Bayern Munich, who were looking to set the goals record, and they did against St. Pauli last week, even though they rotated a few players. But yeah, it's not one we look at. But the rest of the recent form hasn't been great. Like you said, no wins in 5. Cologne, like I said, they had a good run of draws, and then they were able to get a win at the weekend. So yeah, they do look the better team coming into this match. They are 5 points ahead of St. Pauli and the relegation playoffs. So Cologne, a win here would probably more or less secure their safety in the Bundesliga. You would kind of think, with teams around them kind of slipping up between now and the end of the season, because it is match day 30. So there's only 4 more match days after this weekend. So time is running out for teams at the bottom of the table to start picking up points, or teams in the Champions League hunt or the hunt for the European spots to pick up points. So yeah, every point kind of matters even more at this stage of the season. So the last 3 meetings between these two teams were both teams to score yes. It was 1-1 in December. So this could be an open enough match. Most common result is a 2-1 to Cologne in it. But based on all the information that we have at the moment, it looks like Cologne will come out on top in this one. A Cologne double chance is 152. That's not wonderful odds, but you rather than go for a straight Cologne win, if you think maybe St. Pauli can get a draw against it out of this one, Cologne draw no bet could be an option here, because it's nearly 2. So if they are to draw, at least you get your money back.
Let's go to the games we have on Saturday. Leverkusen, Augsburg is the first one. Leverkusen chasing the Champions League spots, and the result in Dortmund was huge. Great win, 1-0 in the Dortmund with Andrich scoring the winner. Before that, they smashed Wolfsburg at home, so they should keep winning against Augsburg, although Augsburg got points against Hoffenheim, one of the other teams fighting for the Champions League, but they have absolutely nothing to fight for. Augsburg in the middle of the table, so Leverkusen should win here.
You would think so, especially at home. They're on a great run in general in the Bundesliga, not just at home. 7 games unbeaten in the Bundesliga, which probably wasn't something that we were thinking about earlier in the season. Well, it wasn't something we were thinking about at the start of the season, but I think they've finally kind of figured it out themselves, got some sort of an identity. They're playing quite tidy football at the moment, and I think that should be enough for them to be Augsburg. Obviously, it was enough last week for them to beat Borussia Dortmund. Augsburg, like you said, maybe they have the feet up. Maybe they're already thinking of what to do for the summer because, they should comfortably finish in mid-table and they shouldn't be too worried about it. I think despite the fact they're on a poor enough run themselves at the moment, no wins in 5, but I think they should have enough to stay well clear of relegation by the time the season ends. The last 3 meetings between these two sides were all 2-0 wins. Leverkusen won both 2-0 last season, and then Augsburg actually won 2-0 at home earlier this season in December. So correct score, 2-0, could be worth a look here. I know Borussia Dortmund lost 1-0 to Bayer Leverkusen last week at home, so maybe Bayer Leverkusen could win 2-0 at home against Augsburg and keep up that trend of 2-0s. It's 8.50 for a correct score, 2-0. Leverkusen win looks like it could be an option for a safe bet this week, so we're not going to go for that. But tying into the 2-0 prediction, maybe Asian handicap -1 for Leverkusen could be an option because if they only win by 1, at least you get your money back. But I think they could win by at least 1 or more than 1 here.
Well, Leverkusen 4 points away from Leipzig and Stuttgart. Hoffenheim 5, but falling in the table. Really poor run at the moment. They drew with Augsburg, as we mentioned before, after 2 defeats in a row. It's only 1 win in the last 7 games. So it's a bad rival to wake up, this Borussia Dortmund that suffered only the 3rd defeat this season in the Bundesliga, the one against Leverkusen. Before that, 4 wins in a row. The only thing, let's say, it's if Dortmund are not motivated anymore in this stage of the season, Ronan.
Yeah, that's always a possibility, but I think some of these players themselves might be kind of fighting for their place or trying to prove themselves ahead of next season, because I imagine Borussia Dortmund will have a busy transfer window. They've secured 𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐻, or kind of in theory secured him, although he's a release clause, but they have tied him down to a new contract. So we'll see. They are confident in keeping him around for next season, but I think there could be a lot of changes this summer for Borussia Dortmund. And 𝐿𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐻 even kind of spoke about what the team are missing at the moment. And it's kind of exciting, game-changing players, and obviously that is what every team wants. But he said, I think what we or the fans are missing is maybe players like Jadon Sancho, Erling Haaland, Dembele and Marco Reus. Now, Marco Reus aside, those are all kind of players that Borussia Dortmund sold for a lot of money to bigger teams. So it's hard to get players like that. Maybe they could get Jadon Sancho back. There has been talk of it, but the Jadon Sancho that we last saw at Dortmund, or originally saw at Dortmund, he'd be coming back for a second time. He's not the Jadon Sancho that's around anymore. So they need to find some sort of game changer somewhere, but they don't have anybody kind of like that at the moment. And you mentioned it last week's show that 𝗵𝐵𝐺 is kind of fallen off a bit, and we've seen that throughout the team. They're really kind of complacent, it feels, at the moment, and they're kind of settled into that 2nd place in the Bundesliga, and they're out of the Champions League. There's not a lot to play for at this moment. Only maybe pride. A draw could be an option here. 4-1, that is. The most common result is 1-1, and the most common result in St. Simon's is 1-1, so a draw could be an option. Both teams to score, doesn't look like a fantastic value bet because it's so low. It looks like a safe bet. You have to look at the goals market and stay away from the 1x maybe, because like you said, Borussia Dortmund, they don't really have much to play for. They're confident enough they're going to get in Champions League. They're confident enough they're going to finish 2nd. Hoffenheim do have plenty to play for, so there should be goals in this match. I think over 2.5 goals has happened 71 and 57% of the time. It doesn't pay great, so you have to go even higher. Over 3.5 goals, 55% of the time for Hoffenheim and 40% of the time for Borussia Dortmund. That's because they were keeping a lot of clean sheets at home in the first half of the season. But like we saw last week, maybe that's running out too. So total goals over 3.25 is kind of the best value bet I can find for this match, because it's not an easy one to predict with Borussia Dortmund under holidays already.
Goals and goals then for this game. Indeed, the odds are almost the same, 4-1 or 4-2. Then we have Union Berlin-Wolfsburg. As we mentioned, Union Berlin sacked the manager. The defeat against Heidenheim was the reason, and also only 1 win in the last 6 games. So our new female manager has to start against Wolfsburg, a team that is absolutely doomed. It's only 1 point in the last 7 games, lost to Frankfurt, 3 consecutive defeats. There is no reaction from Wolfsburg.
No, and I wouldn't be a man if I didn't start a conversation about women by talking about myself. So it was a great pick last week to say that Union Berlin were going to lose to Heidenheim after Heidenheim having such a terrible run of things. But yeah, this is a historic match for the Bundesliga. It's a historic match for European football because Marie-Louise Etta is now the new Union Berlin boss till the end of the season. She had taken charge a couple of times before when their manager had a touchline suspension, but she wasn't doing press conferences. It was just kind of coaching on the touchline. So she is in full control of everything now for till the end of the season. She has experience with Union Berlin's main team. She's been an assistant coach there. She's had men's team. She's had experience with the underage sides. She knows a lot of these players. There was great videos coming out during the week of her trying to get across her tactical approach to the game, and I think she has everything it takes to be a success, because we've seen the Bundesliga have success with coaches, young coaches before. Julian Nagelsmann became the youngest coach in Bundesliga history at 28. He's now the Germany boss. He's managed Bayern Munich, Leipzig. So yeah, the Bundesliga is willing to take risks on coaches maybe that you don't see other leagues take, or you definitely don't see English clubs take. They prefer to get some player who's played for the club who maybe not necessarily going to be the best coach. Wayne Rooney, I'm looking at you, or maybe Steven Gerrard, people like this that maybe are big names but not the best coaches. And the Bundesliga is always looking to see, can it find the best coach? And that's what Horst Held at Union Berlin thinks he has. And he's even come out and say that she could end up being the permanent boss if the results were to go their way, and I think they should. This is a great start to have. He said at this point in time, it would not make sense to rule anything out. So yeah, she could be the permanent boss next season if things go right in the next 5 weeks for her. She has a great match to start off because Wolfsburg are terrible. They've lost 3 in a row, no wins in 12 games. They won 1-0 at home in this in this match nearly 12 months ago. So yeah, they are 3 games without a win, and that's why they moved on from Stefan Baumgart. But I think this new manager bounce could be a big thing for Union Berlin in this match. I think they will be determined to prove everything for her, prove it for themselves. This will be a match Union Berlin will win, and it will be historic for many, many reasons. So Union Berlin to win at 220.
Okay, trust in Union Berlin. Next one is Werder Bremen. Hamburg also for the relegation. Bremen 3 points away from Pauli, lost to Cologne and Leipzig in the last 2 games. It's only 1 win in the last 4. And they have to beat Hamburg, then lost to Stuttgart 4-0. They are in poor form at the moment with only 2 draws and 2 defeats in the last 4 games. The Werder Bremen really need more the points than Hamburg. How do you see this one?
Yeah, there's only 3 points between them. Bremen are in 15th and Hamburg in 12th. So there's not a lot between them in the table, but Werder are obviously in danger of being pulled into that relegation battle, and they need to score goals in this one. They need to get a result in this one. They are at home. So yeah, this one hopefully will live up to the previous meetings between the two sides, because it was 3-2 in Hamburg earlier this season. And then if you look back at the last meeting they had before that, was way back in 2022, but that was also 3-2 to Bremen. So if you look at correct score options here, 2-3 is 30 for Hamburg to win, or 3-2 is 23 for Werder Bremen to win. If you think there's going to be another 5-goal thriller in this one, usually it is a thriller between the two teams. There's lots of goals in it. Most common result is a 2-1, so that's again both teams to score yes. So both teams to score yes, looks like a good option here at 165. But then, yeah, if it's going to be 5 goals, there's going to be at least 3 goals. So 2 total goals over 2.75 is 190.
And the last game we have on Saturday is Eintracht Frankfurt, RB Leipzig for the European spots. Leipzig 4th at the moment with 4 points more than Bayern Leverkusen after beating Gladbach. 3 wins in a row for Leipzig, and Frankfurt won in Wolfsburg and got the 7th spot, probably to go to the conference.
Yeah, it should be an interesting match because Frankfurt, obviously, they slipped up a bit, and that's why they had to change coaches. But it looks like they're destined to get back into Europe again. RB Leipzig are wanting to get into the Champions League. The Frankfurt are finally scoring goals again. There are 3 or more goals in each of the last 3 Frankfurt games, and Leipzig have had 3 wins in a row where there's 3 or more goals in 7 of the last 8 games. So we are hoping that this lives up to the 𝗵𝗲𝗄𝐿, the Saturday evening game. It lives up to the billing after Bayern Munich obviously being in Champions League during the week, and a couple of other teams playing in Europe. This is the match that we're being given as the Saturday night match, and total goals over 3.25 again. I'm going for here 195, because obviously, as we always say, the Bundesliga is the league with the most goals per game on average in the top 5 leagues. And it's over 3.25. So over 3.25 does seem an option. RB Leipzig are on a great run, like I said, 3 wins in a row. They have the Champions League to fight for. Them to win at 2.12 looks appealing. Them to win, combine it with the goal market at Tom Rennie special. We go for RB Leipzig to win and over 2.5 goals, brings that up to 2.50. But I'm looking at one man in particular who is going to be the centre of so much transfer speculation this summer. It's 𝗀𝗲𝗿𝗀𝗧𝗏. He is the man that is kind of making things tick for Leipzig. He's not their top scorer in the Bundesliga this season, but he is providing goals and assists. 11 goals, 7 assists in 28 Bundesliga games, and this is just his first Bundesliga season. So he is player who is going to go from strength to strength. He's going to get even better next season and the season after, you would imagine. But for now, he's doing enough for RB Leipzig to put him in that kind of 80 million price tag window, which seems insane considering they've only recently got him and how young he is, and the fact that he hasn't even played in Europe this season. But that's what RB Leipzig do. They make money on young players. So he should hopefully be someone else they make a lot of money on. But for us this weekend, we just need him to score or assist, because that's 191.
He was playing in Spain before that, and indeed, Christoph Baumgartner is the top scorer of Leipzig this season with 12 goals. And the teams playing in Europe are playing on Sunday. First one, Freiburg at home against Heidenheim. Of course, focus in the Europa League, where they did a great game against Celta Vigo, and even in the Bundesliga, they were able to beat Mainz. The biggest surprise was Heidenheim. It was the first win since the 6th of December, only the 4th of the season, the one they got against Union Berlin.
Yeah, they finally got a win, but they are 3 games out of their feet. But looking up at the table, 6 points away from even the relegation playoff, not even full guaranteed safety. So it's going to be very hard for them in the next 5 weeks to get points. But maybe this is one they could look at, because, like you said, Freiburg, they have one eye on Europe. They will be travelling to Spain this week, so they might be tired coming back after that. They are 8 in the Bundesliga. They're 11 points off Europe as it stands, with the way the table is laid out. But it's only really 2 points when you consider the fact that they could win the German Cup, and the other 3 teams in the semi-finals are all ahead of them and all likely to qualify. Well, definitely would qualify for Europe themselves: Bayern, Stuttgart and Leverkusen. So that 7th place is what they should be aiming for in the Bundesliga, although maybe they could win in Europe and win the European trophy, and that'll get them back into Europe. That might be the way to go. Freiburg have won both games last season to 0, but they lost 2-1 to September. It was one of Heidenheim's 4 wins this season. So yeah, this is a Heidenheim team that maybe should be full of confidence. Freiburg to win this one is only 166. I'm not really sold on that. They beat Celta, like you said, and they have a kind of a strong first leg advantage, but they still have to travel there. They still have to make sure they get the job done, and maybe they'll be a bit tired after that traveling. The win over Mainz, the goal only came in the second half, so maybe Freiburg will win this one, but only in the second half. So I like the look of a first half draw at 250 as Freiburg maybe settle in and maybe wait till the second half to win this match, or maybe even don't win this match after their travels and their exploits in Europe.
Well, the top game this weekend is Bayern Munich Stuttgart, first against the third. Even if we see 20 points between these two teams and 45 goals gap, Bayern Munich broke all the records in the win against San Pauli. Of course, we are doing this video before we know the result against Real Madrid, but it's a big week because the following week also they have the semi-finals in the Pokal in Leverkusen, a title that they haven't won in a while. So big week for Bayern Munich. Stuttgart in the way of playing Champions League next season, beat Hamburg 4-0 in the last game. They are also involved in the Pokal, by the way, playing Freiburg. How do you see this great clash? But of course, it's impossible not to trust Bayern Munich or think we are going to see many goals here.
Yeah, Bayern Munich as to win tends to be the trademark safe bet on the show. So this weekend, maybe not, because Stuttgart, as we know, are a team that are capable of picking up points against anybody. They've been excellent this season. They've been excellent the last few years. So yeah, Bayern Munich just look unstoppable. Even maybe by Stuttgart, 105 goals they're up to now. Musiala scored the 101st goal to equal the record. So it will be Harry Kane, but they're decided, we don't need Harry Kane against St. Pauli. Left them on the bench and save them for Real Madrid, which you probably aren't looking forward to. But yeah, Kane, he has 36 goal involvements this season. Michael Olise has 30. They're the first pair to have 30 or more goals involvements since 2008, 2009 in the Bundesliga, when it was 𝐜𝐴𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐜𝐿 and 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗏 back for Wolfsburg. So yeah, Bayern Munich, they have two players kind of really at the height of their form. If you look at the total goals market, you have to go to 4 to get 2 or over. So total goals market, maybe this mightn't necessarily be 5-3, but Bayern Munich usually score goals. So Bayern Munich over 2.5 goals themselves is a good option, 180. But I'm going for the other trademark bet. I didn't go for it against Real Madrid in the Champions League episode, but I'm going to go for it against Stuttgart. If he plays, keep an eye on the starting 11. Michael Olise, he now needs 3 assists to equal Thomas Muller's Bundesliga single season record. So maybe he can get one here. And Michael Olise to assist is 250.
Great season from Olise. He cannot assist 𝗂𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, by the way, in the World Cup. By the way, missing with an Achilles injury. Well, and the last game is Gladbach Mainz. Mainz playing conference against Strasbourg. They are very close to the semi-finals, by the way. And in the Bundesliga, they lost to Freiburg, but they are basically safe, 8 points distance with the relegation after a great second part of the season. And Gladbach has a really good chance to win this game and get absolutely safe, because they are still in danger, 5 points from St. Pauli.
Yeah, and they've kind of put themselves in that scenario because the second half of the season themselves has not been great. If you look at the Ruck Run table, so that's just for the second 17 games of the season, they are 15th in that table. So yeah, they're getting dragged into that relegation zone because of their poor form in the second half of the season. 2 draws and then a defeat in the last 3 games, whereas Mainz in the Ruck Run table, they're 5th. They were 4th, but that slipped up last week. They finally lost. But they will be looking at the Strasbourg game in the Conference League. Even that aside, I am confident in Mainz to get something here or to win here. Both games in 2025 were away wins. Gladbach won 1-0 in December and Mainz won 3-1 last March against Borussia Mönchengladbach away. So yeah, Mainz win at 291. I know they're playing against Strasbourg on Thursday, but they should be confident after that. They should have gone through after that. Borussia Mönchengladbach are not a match for Mainz at the moment. So a Mainz win at 291 looks really good. But if you want to play it a bit safer and think maybe there's going to be a draw in it, Mainz Asian handicap 0 is 210.
Great. Let's finish the video as always with your safe bet and ACCA. But first, let me remind you that you have our tipster competitions available for you. The monthly one for April, for instance, a good chance to try to make some money online, and also check out Rivals, where you can create your own tipster competition. Ronan, as promised, safe bet.
My safe bet is not Bayern Munich to win. My safe bet this week is Frankfurt Leipzig over 2.25 goals, 132.
Okay, Bayern Munich to win is 1.4. Could be also. It's in the odds of a safe bet. And the ACCA?
My ACCA is Union Berlin Asian Handicap 0 and Mainz Asian Handicap 0 for a total of 334.
Thank you, Ronan. Thanks everyone for watching. Bye bye.